You're leaving? Well, we were just about to go see the International N-Gage Show 2022. Come on, there's some great layouts. Our first stop is Norm's Garden Railway, which is in a 1/12 scale. Track is Tomics, as are the little trains. We move over to Japan. Some of you may have seen this layout before at the previous show. Ishinka is an entirely fictitious layout in Japanese N scale, which is 1/150. It's terminus station catering for tourists. 15-row traverser represents the rest of the world. The tram service at the rear links the station with the Samurai Heritage Village. Kato track with Tomics on the tram line. Structures are mainly Tomitech. As we wait, passenger service arrives at the terminus. And not long after, another service leaves to the rest. As can be expected with the International N-Gage Show, the N-Gage Society was present, this year demonstrating a modular build layout.
But we can all do a couple of trips.
2 Mill Junction next, as we see a blue Pullman thundering across the viaduct. The layout has no dedicated region or dedicated period, and is usually operated with either BR Green or BR Blue. The layout can be used in a compact configuration without the aluminium cassettes and exchange sites. Construction uses 4mm plywood DC control, mainly Pico Code 80 track and seat operated turnouts. Here we can see a Class 25 running around its train of tankers. It stops just before the points, before moving over them and waiting for the signalman to give them the right road. A gentle buffer up, and the tankers are pushed into one of the sidings. On the main lines, a peak passes by with a small wreck of carriages. There's plenty of traction on view here, with the 2 running trains complemented by 2 Class 37s and a 47 all on display. After the Class 25 shunt is finished, the Class 47 moves off with the larger TEA tankers.
Alright?
As the 47 moves around the back of the station, the Class 24 arrives with a stopping service.
So far so good. So far so good.
Yes. Right, I'll do that.
It's all haywire on track NFI as a horse on the front of a wagon is propelled by half a locomotive. This is a dream between France and the United Kingdom. Spirit has allowed itself to mix our 2 railway universes. Reality and fiction are therefore our pleasure, especially yours. And also, the world's fastest windmill seems to be present. This layout is huge. Stephansdorf to Alpenpfarr. It's following a typical South German main double track line, which will pass riversides, a container terminal, a nursery, a heavy duty street transport and a fire station before we reach Stephansdorf station. After a stop, we can continue the trip along a maze, power transport station, a school and a Bodemann castle. The short single track branch line is heading to Alpenpfarr. When we first came to the layout, there was a few teething troubles. Not many trains were moving. However, the bus was going round very pleasantly, and we could really appreciate the street detail. This module of the whole layout was probably my favourite. Absolutely beautiful, and I've got quite a bit of footage here for you to appreciate the work on this layout. There's all sorts to notice. You just don't realise. The longer you stay there, the more it sort of appears and comes to you of what is actually there. I mean, there's a photo of the light going on. The street scene, there's even a Where's Wally in there. I never found him. If you do see him, put it in the comments below. But I mean, it is Engage. It's almost impossible to get those little things. This is the street scene behind the station. It's very difficult to view, and I've had to lift the camera over the layout to get that. But look at the detail down there. And considering this is Engage, it's brilliant. There's even a cherry picker. And we're not sure, but there was a button on the front of the layout, and we pressed it several times and concluded that the cherry picker was what moved when you pressed the button. But we still were never certain. This is one of the boards that's next to the main station, and here we can see a man mowing his lawn. This is the branch line, and here we have a ferry terminal with the boat in place. Once again, absolutely wonderful detail. And on the sides of this layout, it's just massive. It was the biggest one there, as I say, but just wonderful to look at. Absolutely great. Here, a couple of rail buses are arriving at the branch station. Even Thomas had made it to Germany, assumedly on his big adventure, you know, before they cancelled it and make that horrendous TV show that my son won't even watch. I like how the branch line is also subtly set in a different era to what the main line is. I think it works quite well because, again, I think because of the size of the layout, you don't realise the transition from the sort of the later era here. As you walk along the branch, you walk into that more modern era. It's very well done. Here we are at the other side of the layout, and this is the container terminal, which is again a wonderfully modelled scene. As an express train slows down in front of it. I think the reason the express train is slowing down is because the layout runs on a block detection system, and if you look very closely at the track in places, you can spot the infrared sensors and the reed switches which control the movements of the trains, so nothing's colliding into each other, and when it does run, there is train following train, and it's absolutely brilliant to watch. Here we see another express leaving the station, try and following it around the fire station and towards the large load that's being carried in the road.
I'm going to go back to...
Next, an ice train thunders through the station. I'll leave you with a few more shots of this absolutely fantastic layout so you can really appreciate the detail. And pay attention to the lights on the back buildings. They actually flicker on and off like people are living in there. Brilliant.
Daddy, that's a yellow bottle. Oh, that's not.
What's this? 11 minutes into a model railway exhibition and not a Great Western layout? Don't worry, Ashcombe's got us covered. Originally built by John Spence, Ashcombe is now owned by Anthony Hubbard. It's been refurbished and is a 6 foot by 2 foot GWR layout based in Devon in the 1940s. The auto train rests in the station as a heavy freight rushes by. A short while later, an Apanya tank runs through with a couple of coaches and a stove armour van. Of course, once you've seen a Western Region layout at an exhibition, the floodgates open. And this is no exception, as Barton Road, which is based in the Bristol area, is now in front of us. Barton Road is a DCC operated BR Western Region triangular junction layout, located in the rundown suburbs of Bristol. The layout is set in the pre-tops era of 1969 to 1972. Interaction consists predominantly of BR Western Region diesel hydraulics running alongside a growing number of diesel-electric classes and local DMU services. Here, a Class 22 is moving a rake of empty iron ore hoppers around the triangular junction. As the freight runs round the corner, we move our attention to the level crossing, which has working gates. Absolutely brilliant. Next we see a Class 47 working some engineering ballast wagons around the curve towards the station's front. I think we really need to appreciate the high level of detail that some of these N-gauge layouts are showing in these exhibitions. To model in this scale and this detail is absolutely incredible, and sometimes I don't think there is really that much appreciation towards N-gauge modellers than what there should be. OO gauge is so focused upon, but having modelled an N myself, I know what a challenge it can be, and it's absolutely brilliant when you see layouts like this. Opposite the station, on the other side of the layout, is some sidings. Here we can see a Class 25 as it works its way around towards some cement press fields.
Yeah, I don't know how much they are now. They can't be on.
While returning to the other side of the layout, we see a warship on an express working. As the warship passes under the road bridge, in the opposite direction is a Western on a postal wagon. I've got to say, Western Region hydraulics are absolutely fantastic. You really can't knock them. They look wonderful. But then again, I could just be being a bit biased.
Oh, they're just Dapple. Yeah. Or they might even be the... Yeah. The Dapple one, or the short one.
I last saw Tamcester at the Beaconsfield Model Railway Show back in July. If you want to see more of it, then go see that video. But here's some wonderful footage of Class 58 on a stoneworking, whilst a Class 101 sits in the station. For those of you that haven't seen my Beaconsfield video, I can tell you that Tamcester is a large town somewhere between London and Birmingham, served on a loop off the West Coast Main Line. It's set in the sectorisation years of British Rail, anywhere between the mid-1980s and the early 1990s. 86243 makes a call at Towcester, whilst in the opposite direction, Class 56005 passes with a coal working. And it isn't long before the intercity train is on the move again.
Oh, skirt's fallen down. Skirt's fallen down. Hang on over there in the front. Put it there.
Clearly being borrowed from the rail freight sector, an unidentified Class 47 brings in a regional railway stopping service. And of course no image model railway would be complete without the Class 37. Next is Gravelly Oak. It's a 4'9" scenic long with 2-foot additional fiddle yards. Here we can see a stopping service leaving the station. It's a GWR branch that is still served by passenger trains on the West Midlands Shropshire border. I last saw Gravelly Oak at the London Festival of Railway Modelling at Alexandra Palace back at the beginning of the year. If you want to see more of this layout, then check that video out. Here we can see a Wrexham and Shropshire Class 67 arriving at the terminus. Next is Woodhead. This is a model of the western approaches to the tunnel at Woodhead on the Sheffield to Manchester, former Great Central route. It represents the line when it was electrified overhead at 1,500 volts DC from 1954 to 1981. EM1, which are Class 76, and EM2, which are for Class 77s, are the main motive power, with the occasional diesel haulage being observed on the layout. Here we see a Class 76 running with a rake of empty flatbeds, probably collecting some steel from Sheffield, I'd imagine. I was quite impressed with the amount of layouts at the exhibition that actually modelled the overhead wires. This layout wasn't the only one. Here we can see Class 44008 passing through on an express service. Next is Score Falls. Unfortunately I didn't get much footage of this layout, but if you do want to see more then check out the Silver Fox DCC Model Railway exhibition video I did a few weeks ago.
Is this the one we saw at the oven? No. This one at the oven.
Next is New Millfields, which used to just be Millfields, a 24-foot long 4-track mainline layout. Here we see another rail freight borrowed loco working a Network South East service. And in the opposite direction, a Eurostar thunders towards Paris, or Brussels, or London. I'm not sure which way's up and which way's down. It's a wonderful layout though. Next up is a Class 60 on a coal working as it passes over the 4-arch viaduct which spans the river. As it trundles over the girder bridges, it's overtaken by another Eurostar, heading to Paris, Brussels or London. I've got to say, those Kato Eurostars are absolutely wonderful models. I used to own one when I modelled N-Gage myself, and like they did on this layout, you just can't help yourself but run it round and round at top speed. It looks absolutely brilliant. Next is more of my favourite Network Southeast, Class 47 thunders by with an intercity working, and a freight train passing the opposite direction so fast I'm not even sure what was holding it. Next up, the Class 50. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Now I am very biased towards Class 50. And finally, for all you tractor fans out there, a double-headed steel working passes by.
No, just the land's really low around it, isn't it?
We go back over to America with New Orleans. This is a lockdown layout, showing that Kato track can be used to make a proper model railway. And if you note, New Orleans is an anagram of Royal. You may also notice on the layout that some parts of the track are not weathered, and this is purposely done by the builders to show how easy it is to build what is a modular layout that can be set up and taken down. Next we move to Oxfordshire and the Vale of Oxbury, a Western Region Junction station where you can enjoy watching scale-length trains and prototypical stock from the 60s and early 70s. The layout is DCC controlled. Operational highlights include a motorised turntable, semaphore signals, auto uncouplers, also allows to shunt and run around branch line passenger trains. Railway infrastructure is mostly scratch built. Next on the branch line, Class 128 Parcels DMU arrives at the station as an express thunders by on the main line. Shortly after, the Western Pullman comes into the station. As it comes to a stand, a Class 8F and a coal working passes by in the opposite direction. I noted that the layout was actually for sale, and it'll be interesting to see if it will remain on the exhibition circuit once it passes hands. I hope it does, because it's absolutely delightful to look at. As the coal train passes by, the Pullman pulls off. We now move to Ambleton Vale, a totally fictitious layout set around the 1950s. The layout depicts an end branch line station, Ambleton Vale, which has survived cuts mainly because of the flourishing livestock market, a local horse race course, and an increase in commuter traffic between Ambleton and the big city, some 20 miles away.
Traffic away, but you're not moving. What is your
Going
problem?
forwards, not backwards.
Ah, I pressed the
Here we can
direction
see a Great
button,
Western
but
Castle class locomotive running round its train.
Sorry about that, Money. Minor error. At least I changed the code.
Next is Village in the Snow, a single track layout showing a village covered in snow. The villagers are out and about and there are lots of details to find. It's a fun layout that everyone can enjoy.
It is magnificent.
And now one for Harry Potter fans, Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. This tiny little single track layout has all sorts going on in it and all sorts of characters to spot. There's Hagrid at his hut, the Shrieking Shrek, where we can see the train passing by, Hogsmeade Village, and of course Hogwarts Castle School. There's all sorts of characters to try and spot. Even though it is N-gauge, you can tell who's who. When you have a little look around the layout, there's a few to spot. Here are the Weasley twins sitting on some logs. Hagrid is outside his hut with Buckbeak. The Ford Angler that can fly is currently caught in the Whomping Willow. There's some Dementors flying around the hills. A few dragons can be spotted here and there in the Forbidden Forest. Around the school you can see some of the professors, such as Dumbledore, Snape, Umbridge and Lockhart. With loads of details to spot here, such as the herbology greenhouses and the famous bridge that takes them back to the village. In the village, Mad-Eye Moody can be spotted wandering around, as well as other characters. And of course, let's not forget the main three, Harry, Ron and Hermione, and of course Dobby the Elf, who can be spotted on the hill. We move to Mickleover. Mickleover was a through station on the Great Northern Railway's Derbyshire extension, opened in 1878 and closed in 1964. It then became a test track for BR Research Department. The model is accurate with some shortening of the cutting to the tunnel. Here we see a black bike passing through the station with a van working. With the number of Worthington vans I can see on the train, I can assume it's either going to or from the brewery.
This end here.
Next is a B1 with some articulated carriages in tow. And our final shot shows a Jubilee thundering through the station on an express working.
Come back and find him. Even though I'm not in short trousers.
And the final layout of the exhibition is North Road. North Road, which is no relation to Darlington, is a twin-track DCC run-round with repair, fuel, carriage and wagon repair facilities. Totally fictionless, located anywhere you wish.
Keep it on. Right.
Here we can see a Network Rail liveried Class 57 hauling the new measurement train under the road.
It's just stuck because
If you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. If you want to see more like this, then please click the subscribe button. And I thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. I'll leave you with one final footage of an Azuma passing through the station.
You can't go for